This essay identifies AP language instruction and the teachers and instructors who work in that space. This essay frames it as an affinity space of its own. My name is Charles Peters, and I came to this particular affinity space based on training I'm doing at Stanford University right now. We had a breakout session the other day, and the affinity activity involved us creating, naming the affinities, and then going to the group that we felt would best suit us for what we needed to do that day. And I ended up going with the AP Lang group. I realized then that would make a good foundation for this particular essay. AP language instruction as an affinity space does fit all of the criteria for an effective affinity space, starting with shared passion. AP language and composition is best taught by teachers who have a passion for the content and process. This affinity space has been called for teachers of AP Lang across the country to share information, stories, insights, and methods. Sure, you can teach AP Lang without having a passion for it, but the most effective classes are occurring with those who seek out spaces to improve their knowledge and strengthen their pedagogy when it comes to AP Lang. Newbies, masters, and beyond are encouraged and invited into the space. It makes room for masters to guide newbies and for newbies to vocalize confusion, both silently or vocally. They can seek resolution. So there's a space for all levels of mastery to interact. There are also multiple portals to engage. So on-site campuses at school campuses, professional development sessions, video chats, online social networks such as Facebook, Twitter, etc., are all places where this space provides different places to enter. Interactional organization, whereas in a traditional classroom, the organization of the curriculum is set by the teacher, enforced by the teacher. In this affinity space, once people enter the space, their levels of mastery and willingness to share and be vulnerable drives conversation and organization. There's not a set way that a group or a conversation has to go in this space, but it's more open to who are involved, the individual experiences and the interactions that occur driving the organization. Intensive as well as extensive knowledge is encouraged. So this affinity space provides for general discussion of what AP Lang is and how it functions, but extended discourse regarding the smaller nuances based on units, goals, targets, and standards that are focused for students at any given time. In a traditional classroom, it's very intensive with whatever the teacher wants to teach. Information from outside the classroom is not so much encouraged or sought. In this case, bringing in extending the conversation beyond the intention, the original intent, is viewed as a positive and a constructive additive. Individual and distributed knowledge. Teaching AP classes would be very ineffective if knowledge was not distributed and every class was a reboot of trial and error. So individuals having their own experiences is one thing, but being able to distribute those experiences to this affinity space really helps the craft of teaching AP classes and AP Lang specifically, because we are all able to build on that knowledge when we get to the space. Dispersed knowledge is encouraged. Again, kind of building on the last principle. Teachers bring back info from their classes, which is a term called uptake. Professional developments, tutorials, conferences, all of those different places of knowledge are dispersed in these affinity spaces, adding to improvement and growth of the members. Tacit knowledge is encouraged. This affinity space leans heavily on accounts of interactions with classes and students. Books and professional development cannot simulate the knowledge gained from experience. The tacit knowledge of trial and error is essential to the effectiveness of this space. So a book, a video, traditional forms of education cannot simulate or take the place of actual experience hours. And that knowledge that you can't really put a pin or a finger on is most important in the craft of teaching and education. Bringing those experiences back to these spaces is why these spaces are so appealing. The different forms and routes to participate There's also another reason why this space is so sought out. Teachers, learners, mentors, observers, both silent and vocal, can all enter this and find their different routes to come to participate. And then there are also different routes to status. Your years of experience, your scores, AP scores, your hours of training, proof of your students' growth and achievement are all routes to status. And then also, and finally, leadership is porous. Anyone can be a leader at any given time, depending on their needs and the needs of the group. So leadership shifts and changes and flows is open to change and different framing through different lenses based on what the group needs at any given time. Thank you.